All right, everyone. My next guest, self-proclaimed Renaissance man, accomplished screenwriter, songwriter, stand-up comic, author of Touring with Legends, Grammy-nominated Emmy Award winner. Put your hands together for Dennis Blair. What?
I
Hey.
hate myself already. Jesus. I should just sit back and relax for a while.
Paul Lander introduced us, and he said, you should talk to Dennis Blair. He opened for Carlin for like 18 years. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then when I started digging into your bio and everything, the one thing that I stumbled on, I was like, oh my goodness. Dennis Blair wrote Rappin Rodney. And
I
I
helped.
you helped write Rappin Rodney with Rodney
Yeah.
Dangerfield. And
Uh-huh.
as a kid, this
Yeah.
cassette, which is legit, I just had in
Yeah.
my basement when I got it, Rappin Rodney, was like obsessed. I was obsessed with
Wow.
that when I was like, oh my god, Dennis Blair wrote with Rodney Dangerfield, Rappin Rodney, the
And
greatest
I
song ever.
and I can the greatest song ever. Forget about yesterday. Forget about
Yeah.
those songs. No,
Well,
we don't need that crap.
as a kid, it's
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah. That was me. I put the jokes into rhyming and song form. It was my major contribution. I think I did the chorus too. So long ago. Had something to do with the chorus. Yeah,
no
but yeah, it was a
respect.
co-write.
No
Yeah,
respect.
yeah.
um, okay, so on your journey to hilarity, how did you start out in comedy? Like, what
Yeah.
drove you to be a comic?
Nothing. Total. It was a total accident. No, I had no drive. I had no incredible fervent wish to be a comedian. I wasn't like those guys. I always wanted to do comedy since I was 4, since I was in the embryo. No, I didn't. I was a musician. I was a songwriter. I was going to make it as a famous songwriter like James Taylor or something. And you go to a bar and you sing your songs and you cover songs. And I did that a lot. And people weren't listening, as is their wont. And I got pissed off one day because nobody was listening to my art. So I went
No
upstairs.
respect.
No, yeah, and respect. That's right.
No respect.
Talk about having something in common with the big guy. So I went upstairs and wrote this parody of the Bee Gees just for fun because I was bored. Staying alive. It was called "Singing Too High," and I came back down. I did one or two or three cover songs, James Taylor, Paul Simon, and then I threw that in, it's the "Singing Too High" song, and all of a sudden people started going, "Hey, wait a minute, those aren't the real words." Some people, and then they started laughing. I was going, "Oh, they're laughing. That's a response. I'll consider that a response." And so I did that, and then I started doing some patter, and I wrote some more parodies of famous songs of the era. Just 1979, and I started developing at this place in Long Island called Fern's Harness Shop. It was a little wine and cheese place. So I developed a little act around the songs that I wrote, the parodies I wrote, and then moved into Manhattan. I was 4 blocks away from Dangerfields. Someone told me that they had an open mic night on a Sunday, and I went to open mic night. They finally put me on at 1 in the morning, and it went well. And I had this little act that I developed over at Ferns, and so that they hired me to open for Jackie Mason the next week, and I did that. And then Rodney came in to see me. Like, Rodney happened to come in. He didn't come in to see me, and he see me. I guess he saw me having a good show. I came off stage. He goes, "So they obviously like what you do. What do you do?" I told him I do parodies and stand up and observation. So he watched my next show and he said, "Hey, why don't you open for me the week after this?" So out of the blue, basically out of the blue, out of nowhere, started opening for Mason and Rodney and all the other people that headlined at his club, and that he took. Then he did Caddyshack, became the biggest comic in America, and said, "Hey, why don't you come on the road with me and open?" So I'm doing comedy like 3, 4 months already, and I'm opening for Rodney Dangerfield. That's how it started. Just
So
like this little dare to go to Dangerfield's. That's how it all began.
so within the first 3 4 months, you're working for Dangerfield, opening
Yeah.
for Rodney Dangerfield. But even before that, how long were you doing with Jackie Mason? What were you opening with? Like, how many
Uh,
minutes? I mean.
I'd say yeah, 25 minutes, something like that. I had developed the act around, around the BG thing and other stuff that was, I'm sure I was doing Eagles and Paul Simon stuff, and then I had, Patter to go did a lot of stuff about disco because that was still big at that time. So I did a lot of jokes about disco and Donna Summer and Barry White, and so I had a 25-minute routine I could do. So that's what I did in front of Jackie Mason. That was for that 1 week, and then Rodney came in, and he was the next week. He did the next week, and I was did a week with him, and it all went well, thank God.
The only thing that didn't go well was Caddyshack 2 didn't go as well for Jackie
No,
Mason as
no, no. Jackie was not an actor. I did they called me up in a panic once because Jackie wanted to do a musical on Broadway. It's a long, long story. But he said, "Yeah, I want to do it." Jackie is just his manager, Jill, said, "Do you write sketches?" I go, I've written sketches. He goes, "Wait, would you want to write Jackie's musical? Because we've had 5 writers and they all suck." All right, I can try to join that group. And we worked on this. He wanted to. He didn't sing. He didn't dance. He didn't do anything like that. I have no idea. He wanted to do a show. He was doing his one-man shows on Broadway, but they were making him work too hard. He wanted to sit down more often on stage. So he hired these 5 actors, and they sang and they did bits, and we worked on songs and we worked on the book. But that's down the line. But yeah, Rodney was that first week, and he started taking me on the road to the big 3,000 seat theaters. I'm sitting around going, "How did this happen? This is weird." But it was cool.
that is amazing. So
Yeah,
Rodney made you his protege, right?
yeah,
That's
pretty much. Yeah,
what was it like touring with Dangerfield? Everyone has Dangerfield stories, usually involving a robe that's open.
yeah, the road. And people would tell me these stories about Rodney. Like I've been with him for 3.5 years straight on, so they're telling me like they're telling me something new. He goes, "Yeah, I went to Rodney's apartment and I knocked on the door and he had this robe on and before they got past the and I said and his junk was hanging out." They went, "How'd you know?" I said, "I was with the guy for like 3 years." he just he felt comfortable around me and I guess around you too. But yeah, he just did that all the time. He was very casual. Even I heard he used to go down to the when he was doing the casinos in Atlantic City and Las Vegas. He used to just go down to the casino and go to the crap table or something like that and be standing there with his robe with his junk hanging out. So yeah, it was pretty well known. But yeah, that was a shock when it first happened. I said, I guess I better get used to this. Yeah, we traveled together. He bought a house in Connecticut, and I hung out there and did a lot of writing with him. Easy Money, of course, came along, and he made me a writer on that. So that was the beginning years.
Was that great though? Working on Easy Money, I love. It's a great movie. I started rewatching it because I
Oh
knew I
yeah.
was talking with you. It's
Yeah, it's
funny.
funny. It's funny you should say it's a great movie because I did it. Well, we did it. It took 2 years to write it because Rodney could not understand anything that was not a joke, like a no respect kind of joke. Or I tell you, I was ugly. That's what he had. That was humor to him. He would always make us rewrite things when we were around his table doing the movie. He'd make us rewrite things, but it's not a joke, man. It's not funny. You know, Somebody went to see Tootsie with Rodney. That was the big movie at the time. He was one of the guys who became a writer on Easy Money as well. And he told me, I'm sitting there and people are dying laughing. They're bent over. They're doubled over laughing. And Rodney turns to me and goes, "It's not funny, man. What's the joke?" People are dying laughing. He didn't get it. He didn't get it. So we had to be very careful. We had to work doubly hard to make it uh, all these scenes something that he could understand where the humor was. So we had a lot of scenes that we would have loved to have done with him, but he just didn't get them. He didn't get why they'd be funny. But we made it into a pretty good movie. I don't think it did very well at the box office at first. Back to School, I hear, did much better. And it was a first-time director and with everything. And Joe Pesci was wanted to get out of the movie as soon as he signed it because Rodney would take all the good lines. Rodney, if Joe Pesci said a line that would get a laugh, Rodney says, "Okay, I'll say that." Jeez, it's like, and Pesci would come back to his trailer and go, "He can't act." So all sorts of adventures. And I think it took a little over a year to make the movie and 2 years to write it. So it was an ongoing project. Man, there was a lot of stuff happened during those movies. I tell you.
Were you involved with getting Billy Joel to do the
Well, it's
theme?
I tell this to people, and this is the truth. If I was never born, Billy Joel never would have written Easy Money, the song Easy Money. They wanted to get him, but Rodney was a big fan of his. Yeah, so I'd say yes, I was involved. I was responsible because I think I came up with half the title. I think they were looking for a title for the movie halfway through, and I said, "Well, how about Easy Come, Easy Go?" I think was the title that I came up with. Rodney said, "Easy Come, Easy Go." How about Easy? And then his manager said, "Money." So I did half the title, and that's how the song got written. That's why it was called that.
It's a good half. You came up with a good half.
Thank
It
you
was,
very much. I made my contribution.
I think. Did I read somewhere that like this song is what triggered the whole Innocent Man album?
I don't know about that. I never heard
Okay.
that.
All right.
Possible.
All
Yeah.
right.
But that was the first song on the album. So who knows?
Then Rodney was in the one of the videos for Uptown Girl or one of the
Yeah.
other Billy Joel ones. He was in.
Tell her
Tell her
about
about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
tell her
yeah, yeah.
about it. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I was at that shoot too. That was I forget what theater they rented out for the day. I think it was in New Jersey. We drove up there and Billy was there and all these extras playing, the screaming girls in the audience. Yeah, so I was there.
Growing up, I always thought Billy Joel, when he talks about the comedian in My Life, was supposed to be Rodney Dangerfield, but then someone else died and everyone claimed it was that person. So I don't.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was supposed to be. Yeah, exactly.
All
But I'll
right.
tell you.
This section of the random Billy Joel trivia is coming to an
Okay, there
end.
you
No,
go.
I'm just kidding. All right. So Jennifer Jason Leigh was in that movie as well. So was
Okay.
Joe Pesci cool though?
Joe Pesci was very cool, but I think he started out as a Rodney fan, and all the stuff Rodney put him through with the taking the funny lines, and Rodney just his acting style was a little bit much for Joe. I think Joe was more of a method actor. Joe said at the beginning of the movie, told Rodney. Joe told me this. He said, "Yeah, so at the beginning of the movie, I say, Rodney, you and I should hang out, as our characters. Get into character, go to the racetrack, stuff like that." And Rodney immediately turns to him and goes, "I don't do that. Okay, here's what I do. You throw a line at me, I'll throw a line back at you. That's how I act." And Joe just went, "Oh shit! Did I sign the contract? Can I get it back?" Even from then, he said, "Maybe this was a mistake." So by the end, it was just like he couldn't wait to stop. I don't think him or he or Taylor Negron or Jennifer Jason Leigh ever mention that they were in Easy Money. I don't think they ever bring it up. And I'd love to just, I can't, Taylor's gone, but Jennifer Jason Leigh's around. If I ever ran into her, I'd say, "Hi, I was one of the writers of Easy Money." And if she was still there, she didn't take off. I'd say, "So did you really hate being in that movie? Did everybody hate being in that movie or not?" So I don't know. I wasn't privy to a lot of the on-set stuff because I was in the writers' room, trying to come up with jokes and stuff like that. But apparently he was difficult.
So this was Rodney's second movie then, right after Caddyshack, or
Yes. Well, he actually
okay.
did a movie before Caddyshack called The Projectionist, which he wasn't that famous at all. This was like maybe 8 years before it. And he was great in it. He was like low key. He was kind of acting the part. He was the character. So I don't know what happened, but I guess his energy from his road act just kind of seeped into his consciousness, and he just was all over the place. This is the one right after Caddyshack because he came to me in the dressing room and said, "So they want me to do a movie starring me. So if you come up with any ideas, let me know." So I ran home, which was 4 blocks away. I said, "Holy shit, Rodney Dangerfield just asked me to come up with an idea for a movie." And I came up with the idea for Easy Money. So that's
Very
how
cool.
that happened. And then they hired writers, and he hated the writers, and he told the writers that I thought. Rodney called me and said, "Yeah, I read the script for Easy Money. It's a piece of shit. I'm going to send it over to you, and let me know what you think." Okay. And I get the script, and it's okay. It's not great. It's a first draft that needed work, obviously. I called and I told him, I says, "Yeah, it's okay." And Buddy goes, "That's what I thought. It's a piece of shit." He calls up Estelle Endler, who's his manager, whose husband is one of the writers on the movie. And he said, "Dennis agrees with me. He thinks it's a piece of shit." So for the first 3 weeks, I'm sitting at the writer's table with Michael Endler, who's the guy whose script I said was a piece of shit. along with PJ O'Rourke, and they're staring at me and glaring, and I'm going, "What did I do? Did I do something?" And it finally came out that he had said that, and I said, I never said it was a piece of shit. I just said it was a first draft." So, God, you get in trouble by not even doing anything, you know. But that's
So
how all that stuff worked out.
so a lot of rewriting on the go, was there then, just to kind of fit
Oh yeah.
Rodney's style?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He was very difficult to please. You know, it's like you'd come up with a scene that you'd think was pretty funny, and he'd go, "No, man, there's no jokes in here. Where's the jokes?" He kept going, "Where's the jokes? There's no jokes." So yeah, Easy Money has a lot of those, kind of one-liners. Every once in a while, we come up with something that he really liked, so we go, "Oh, good, we won one." That's why it was such a long process. And the director was Jim Signorelli, who was the first-time director. Got the guy who used to do all the Federal Express commercials, and he was a director for like 1 month, and then they fired him and he got Signorelli back. But the one scene that what was his name? Subtle, yeah, Joe Suttleson. The one scene that remained of Joe Suttleson. Remember the overhead scene in the wedding scene, the wedding reception,
Uh-huh.
where all the backyards are empty except for Rodney's, and all these people are cramped together. That was the only thing that remained from Joe's tenure as a director.
Ah,
Everything else was on the go, on the fly.
well, that does stand out. No.
Yeah, yeah. People remember that. Yeah, I know. I'm telling you.
Was there something about making him a baby photographer? I was a baby, so grew up to become a baby
I I
photographer.
I wasn't at that session. I did 90% of the writing sessions, but I
Okay.
think I had a gig or something, and they come up with that was his. Rodney would come up with a lot of scenes too, and you'd kind of have to go along with it. Sometimes you go, okay, I guess that's in the movie, you know. So
So, all right. So, what was it being a protege and writing? What's a writing session with Rodney Dangerfield
you'd go to
basically
his
like?
you go to his apartment, sit around the big dining room table, wait for everybody to be there. His manager was there, the writers, of course. There was another guy who kind of was sort of a sounding board. I don't. He never wrote anything. He'd sit there and laugh if something was funny, and I guess Rodney liked him or something. So said, "Hey, Jim, whatever the guy's name is, Jim. Jim thinks that's funny. Let's keep that in, even if it wasn't funny." So that would be it, and then you would start, and wherever you left off the day before or the whatever days before, you take up from there. I think we all go home and try to come up with scenarios that should follow what we had written before. And we'd work for a couple of hours. Sorry, I just lost my in ear. We worked for a couple of hours, take a break, have lunch, and work for more, and then forget how long we'd work, but maybe 5 or 6 hours a day, and that's the way it would go.
How many jokes were in a typical Rodney set? Because they're shorter one-liners, right? I mean, they're
Definitely. Well, when he did the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, I think he did approximately 15 jokes for the stand-up section, and then he'd go over to the panel. They called it the panel when you sit down with Johnny, and he just basically continued doing his jokes. Johnny would be there going, "Oh, you don't say," or "Oh, really?" And then Joe Rodney would do his ugly jokes or whatever. So that was about 12. So I guess 27, 28 would be in a typical TV set, and his shows were a little over an hour. So I don't know how many jokes he fed into that, but that's a lot. If a Tonight Show set is like 10, 12 minutes, talking about times 6 times that or 5 times that. So 100
wow.
something. Yeah.
What's the craziest Rodney story that,
The
that pops out in
craziest?
your just one that just kind of always sticks in your head?
Well, the one that just came right to my head. We were in a limo, and we were late for the gig. We are going to be late for the gig, and we were in traffic. And Ray goes, "We're going to get late, man. We're not going to make the show." So he tells the driver, "Hey, you see that shoulder over there on the highway? We're on the highway, and not moving traffic. Just go up on the shoulder and like pass all these people." And he goes, "Rodney, I'm really not supposed to do that." Rodney goes, "Come on, do it, man, do it. I'll take care of it. If we get a ticket, I'll take care of it." The guy goes, "Okay." Goes up on the shoulder. We do about 3 miles on the shoulder. People are honking, beeping. Fuck you guys. We get a flat tire all of a sudden, and we're at the side of the road. Now all these people who beeped us because we were passing them, like giving us a finger. And I don't think they knew it was Rodney because he was kind of like hiding his face. Oh shit, I'm in trouble now. And one guy with a pickup truck stopped, and Rodney says, "Hey, can you give us a ride to whatever the theater is?" And the guy said, "Yeah, sure." And he like we start talking. The guy goes, "Hey, wait a minute, aren't you Roger Dingleford?" And Rodney goes, "Dangerfield, yeah, 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 yeah." So that's what happened. So the guy got us to the theater just in the nick of time. But that was the kind of stuff that would happen on the road all the time. Hilarious. But that's the one that just one of the ones that stick out in my mind. The other one that I could think of is Billy Joel. That involves Billy. Billy came to a show at Westbury Music Fair, and I came off. He goes, "Hey, Dennis, how you doing?" He says, "Oh, hi, Billy." That's fine. And then after the show, Rodney's in his dressing room, and Rodney says, "Hey, Billy, hey, Dennis, Peg, come on in. We'll hang out." So we're all in the dressing room, and they're trading stories, Rodney and Billy. At one point, Billy goes, "Yeah, well, what we're going to do is we're going to do the next tour. I'm going to have a TV on stage, on the stage, and we're going to have a channel tuned to like an old Andy Griffith show." And Rodney chuckles. You can see on Billy's face, "Oh, I just made Rodney Dangerfield chuckle. That's pretty cool." So they continue talking about other stuff. And about 5 minutes later, Billy goes, "Yeah, well, like we said, we're going to do that TV thing. Going to have the TV on the stage." And Rodney looks at Billy and goes, "It was kind of funny the first time." And Billy just sinks down on the floor and goes, "Oh shit, I guess I did it twice." And I'm going, "Oh, poor Bill." He just the wrath of Rodney. So those are two. Those are two that stick out in my mind immediately.
That's funny. That is funny. So you've opened for like everyone. Before we get to Carlin, Joan Rivers.
Yep. 2 years with her. Yeah.
How was that? Like she's amazing.
Yeah. Totally different vibe. See, Rodney happened to be a very unhappy person, just the way he was. Nothing made it, even his success, even when he felt he made it too late in life. He felt he made it when he was 60. Now, if he was kind of famous before that, but not, earth shattering. So this Caddyshack came about when he was like 60, and he felt, "Man, it just took me too long, so long to get here, you know. Why don't you?" But he could turn anything into a tragedy, pretty much, right? And he was a great guy and hilarious, and we had great times. But as a person, he just wasn't the happiest person on earth. Joan was totally different. Joan loved being on the road. She loved working. She would take us on trips. Like once I was, we were, my wife and I were sleeping in the bedroom of our room at Lake Tahoe, and we get a phone call at like 9 in the morning, which was not comics hours. And sleepily, I go, "Hi, yeah, it's John. We're all going, what do you, skiing, water skiing. We're all going water skiing. So be down in the lobby in 10 minutes, and we'll meet. And we'll go water skiing." I'm like, so it's another thing. These guys, you're opening for somebody. You can't say no. It's like you feel like they'll fire you. So by 10 o'clock, we were on a boat in the Caesar's yacht on the lake, water skiing. So, but she did that. She was like a den mother. We'd go regular skiing. We go here, we go there, we go shoe shopping. Because Joan wanted to buy my wife some shoes, so there was a pay list down the block. So we went there. It's interesting. But she didn't take all of your time up. Rodney would take all of your time up. Joan would occasionally, chill out and go to her hotel room. So it was okay. It was tolerable. But yeah, but totally different personalities. And then she got me on the Tonight Show, so that I am forever grateful for that.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of what's the difference between how they prepared before going on stage?
Are they prepared? I don't know. I know Joan had cards. She had good cue cards that she would tape to the stage, during sound check or whatever it was, before the people came in. So I don't know how much preparation she did. If she did, it was in her room. I never saw it. But she always used two opening acts in those days, in the mid '80s. Me, very often it was Gary Shandling. So I got to hang out with Gary Shandling for 2 years. And that was amazing. He helped me put my Tonight Show set together. So that was great. We had some great laughs, good laughs. Yeah, so that was cool. Sometimes it was Father Guido Sarducci from SNL.
Yeah.
So that was, yeah, so great. And he came out of his dressing room once in total Father Guido Sarducci, and I just looked at him and says, "Man, I was gonna wear that." And that. Um, so who else? Nell Carter sometimes. I guess if Gary wasn't available, because he was starting to get some notoriety, he'd have to get other people. So those are the three main ones. But Gary did the lion's share of the work. That's for sure.
I love Gary Shandling. He was
Yeah,
so funny. My parents would watch Joan Rivers and Gary Shandling. I feel like
yeah,
they would always have. That's how I got exposed to them. Gary
yeah,
Shandling had one of the funniest jokes. is it Porsche or Porsche? You
Yeah,
know, yeah, it's Porsche. I'm
yeah.
driving my Toyota.
Boy, my Toyota. That's right. I know. Hilarious. He was great. And we talk on the phone every once in a while. I remember once I called him, left a message on his machine. We had machines back then, and he didn't call me back. So as a joke, after 2 minutes, I said, "Hey, Gary, it's Dennis again. I left you a message. You haven't called me back yet. If it's a matter of money, you can call collect." 3 minutes later, I get a call from an operator. He goes, "Hi, I have a Gary Shandling on the phone. He says it's a collect call. Will you accept the charge?" I said, "I'll accept the charge." That shit kind of happens all the time.
Oh, that is funny. That
Yeah,
is really funny. Did you take? I know sometimes when you're working with someone for years, you don't watch every show, but like
right.
when you're working with like a Rodney or Joan and Carlin, like
Hmm.
do you watch them every time, or like can you ever get enough, or is it like you
I
know?
watched I watched him a lot of the time just because it's just fun to watch, and you can always pick up some sort of a pointer for yourself by watching these great people. Yeah, Rodney, I watched at least I'd say 75%, just because I wanted to see the audience reaction if he had anything new. And Joan, the same thing. If she had any new stuff she was trying out, I would sit up on a balcony or whatever, wherever the sight lines were and watch her. Carlin, I remember specifically because I don't know where they saw me. They saw me on probably a TV show or something like that. And I got a call from my agent. My agent at the time was booking me with everyone. He was the one guy that got me to opening act work. And he calls one day and says, "Hey, would you like to open for George Carlin for 3 months?" I said, "Yeah, I can probably squeeze that in." Yeah, so gives me the details. It was in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm downstairs. I haven't met George ever. I'm pacing in my dressing room. I hear the door upstairs, the stage door open upstairs, and I hear George's unmistakable voice going, "Hey, Blair, where the fuck are you?" I go, "I'm down here." He comes down. He goes, "Hey, how you doing? I'm George Carlin." I says, "Yes, I know." And he grabs like a whole bunch of stuff from my deli tray. He goes, "I'm taking like half of these, okay?" Anyway, I saw we love you. We think you're great, and we'll be watching your show, so don't fuck up. And then he leaves. I went, "This could be fun." So I do my show. Thank God it goes well. I come off stage. I don't see George anywhere. I go to myself, I guess he didn't watch me, or maybe he's out in the audience. And I hear all of a sudden to my side sound of it. So one guy clapping, and it's George. He'd been behind the curtain the whole time. Great show, great show. And then he does his thing. So here's the deal. So I'm feeling pretty good that George liked my show. Pretty good about my response. I go up to the balcony, the closest balcony. I say I'm going to watch George. And I go from feeling pretty good about myself to he does this whole opening bit, and it's like a 7 or 8 minute bit about people I can do without. I don't know if you've ever seen that bit. Yeah, a dentist with blood in his hair. That's one of the jokes. Guys with big teeth, no, big gums and small teeth. This is just a litany of people he could do without. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is a real comedian. This is a guy. I don't know how you think like this." So I'm going, okay, I got to start writing some stuff because he's amazing. So there were a couple of bits with George. I was with him so often that I didn't watch every show. Every once in a while, I would watch the show when I knew this one bit was coming up. The guy with the roving eye. He did like a 5 minute bit on a guy with one of those eyes that look off to the side, and I just would love it because first of all, not only were the jokes funny, but he acted it out. He didn't get enough credit for being a great physical comic because he would like be hunch over and try to follow the guy's sight line and stuff. And at the end of the bit was, and you realize for the last 5 minutes he's been describing a building down there, And I went, that was the ending of the bit, and it was bits like that I would just watch, even if I didn't watch the whole show. I go, "Oh, he's doing the bit. He's doing the eye bit." So I guess the question would be, yes, I did watch a lot of those guys, and I think I picked up a lot of subconscious, if not conscious, stuff from them.
Did they assume you were watching? I mean, did you have to watch? Did they meaning like did they go? If
No,
Joan was trying something new, she goes, "Dennis, how did that work?" You know.
no, I don't think they ever did that. I did write him a couple of tags. George was saying, I need a finish for this bit, and the bit involved him talking about people having an orgy, and dancing in front of the statue of, and I said, Larry Flint. He went, got it, thank you. And he used that. I mean, it was just a tag, but I wrote something for Carl and I felt so good. There was another joke too, which I kind of ended for him. Oh, I know what it was. What if there was a guy who was a classical composer and he was so amazingly good? He's better than Beethoven, better than Mozart, better than all those guys, and you couldn't ignore him. But unfortunately, his name was, and I came with El Canto Piccolini. And he said, "Great." So those are two examples. Those are proud moments for me when I came up with something, to help with a joke. But no, he never asked if I watched him. Joan never asked. Rodney never asked. No, they didn't care. I mean, or didn't mind.
I mean, that must be like the greatest thing in the world to be sitting there in the audience and George Carlin
Yeah,
is using your tag, and you're like,
I know, I know. Yeah, it was
oh,
nice. Yeah, yeah. Those are amazing years. I do miss those years. Yeah.
that's 18 years. So you had to, were you writing like a fiend then during this time? Because I feel
I
like
was
George
trying.
Carlin has a new
Yeah.
hour every 5 minutes.
I know,
So
I know. Yeah, I'm not a great writer, and also the nature of my act is so musical that once you have, you come up with all these. I would come up with every genre of music that I could think of. But once you've gotten every genre of music, it's hard to expand on that. So I stick with that, like Victor Borge, like set pieces. And then if there were new artists, like they were popular, then I would try to do a parody on that. So that was that. And I've come up with a couple of concepts every once in a while. But I wouldn't say I was writing like a fiend, but I was really trying hard. But I come up with a new stuff, like a new 5 minutes maybe every year. That isn't Carlin's speed, but yeah. But Rodney was the same. Rodney stuck to his format for as long as I was with him. Joan, I think, wrote some stuff too, but she was kind of a workaholic anyway. Yeah, so yeah, I wish I was writing more. I came up with enough stuff that I kept the job for 18 years. And then it was Rodney. So Rodney was 3 years, 3.5 years. Joan was 2 years. Tom Jones was 1 year. That was my big
how
interesting.
was that?
It was good because I was a good opener for him for some reason. His audiences liked me, and then I was real good friends with the band. I rode on the band bus to most gigs that were within driving distance. So I made some friends that I still have today. And then I had like a whole bunch of other people that I would work with occasionally for a month or a weekend, or Beach Boys I opened for a couple of times. Some people like that, like 150 different acts I think it was my career that I've opened for. So
I
yeah, it worked
believe
out.
that is correct. So, so as a, with the funny songs, it would work great for a comedian and
Yeah,
it would plug in very well for a musical act. So,
yeah, because there's nothing like what they do, but it's comedy, so it helps get the audience in a comedy mood.
so
Yeah, it's amazing that thing of opening for somebody, and Rodney didn't always give me billing, and I always wanted billing just for that reason. Like, at least they know somebody's with him. But it didn't help very much because Carlin always gave me billing. Joan always gave me billing. I would have my guitar on. I would do a sound check and have my guitar on stage in a stand as people are coming in. So billing, there's a guitar on stage. Most people should know George Carlin didn't play guitar, and still the lights would go down. Please make welcome George, special guest Dennis Blair, and it wasn't like booze, but with Rodney it was booze because his audiences were fanatical about him. But they go, you can just hear the deflation. So you had to be funny real fast. That was the good practice. They had to be funny really as
right.
quickly as possible. Yeah, but Joan, yeah. So yeah, that's the hard part. I just worked with Barry Manilow for 2 tours. Same thing. The lights go down. Barry would like you to be very kind to his special guest, musical comedian Dennis Blair, and they didn't boo, but it was like, So
Right.
again,
Well, the Fanilows are there for one reason.
that's
The
right. That's
Barry
right.
Manilow happened to be the very first concert I ever saw. My
Oh,
parents
really?
took me to see Barry Manilow. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you enjoy it?
I recall enjoying it.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
I mean, but
I was never a fan of his kind of music. I'm just not, I'm like more of a rock, not heavy metal, but Who, the Led Zeppelin, that kind of deal.
I
But
think Barry Manilow, Neil Diamond, those were
yeah, yeah,
regulars
yeah,
in the
yeah.
house, you know.
But he has a residency here in Vegas at the Westgate Hotel, and his writer, I guess the guy who comes with the new stuff for him to say, Patter, and his friend is an old comic named Larry Ambrose. He brought Barry up to see me at the Westgate. I was doing a show there. They were trying to do comedy there, and Barry came up with his manager and Larry and his manager's daughter and stuff, and we had a 10-minute talk, and he was very nice. And they said, "Yeah, I really liked your show." I said, "Oh, thanks." Blah 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 blah. 10 minutes later, he's gone. Then a month later, they called and said, "Hey, you want to do arenas with us?" I said, "Okay." It's arenas. How many people is that? Yeah, it's 5 to 10,000 people. I went, "Okay." It wasn't crazy about the idea, but it worked out really well. So but yeah, the same damn thing. You gotta know. You just know they're not there for you. They don't even know who you are. So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, Barry Manilow can still pull it in.
He can, he can.
He
I remember
can.
opening. I'm opening for Gilbert years ago at a club. Someone put us together, and I picked him up. And for the entire half an hour ride to New Jersey or wherever it was, he just complained and bitched about. I hate fucking doing this. I don't want to do this. God damn it, I hate this shit. He turns to me, "You want a headline?" I said, "I think they're there to see you, Gilbert." "All right, what the fuck?" And he's so down on it. And then, like, we get to the place, and he's supposed to do 40 minutes, and he did an hour. So these guys are many times full of shit. I don't want to do it. And once they can hear laughter, there you go.
Well,
Yeah,
there's something about once you're on stage, I
right.
think like that
The
it's just
energy,
the
yeah,
drug. Yeah, it's
right.
of the musical acts, like who was your favorite ones to open for?
Gloria Estefan was the sweetest. I'm sure she still is. Was she's not dead? Sweetest person I ever met in show business. She wanted me to do parodies of her songs. I'm going, "Gloria, they don't know who I am. I'm not going to start making fun of your songs on stage." "Oh, come on, dude. Goys will be goys. They'll be hilarious." "No, it won't be hilarious because they're there to see you, and they'll think I'm being disrespectful." So I refuse to do it. But I'd say she was one of my top people. Uh, the Beach Boys were pretty cool too, and I opened for them in 1980 when Dennis was still alive. Brian was kind of starting to lose it, but he wasn't completely losing it. But Carl was great. I really liked Carl a lot. So I say because of him, that was one of my all-time favorite gigs. Other music acts, I'm trying to think. Tom Jones was all right. Tom Jones was royalty, but he didn't really talk to the plebes. He was sort of, but he wasn't stuffy or anything. Just we'd cross each other on stage. I'd be coming off, he'd be coming on. He'd go, "Hello, lad." I go, "Hi, Tom," and that was it. That's the most talk he got.
Oh, so back to George Carlin. So, do you have any what you would consider your classic George Carlin stories that you like to share?
Yeah, well, like I said, George was kind of a hermit. When you were hanging out in the car, we do a lot of rental car to the gig. Like we'd stay at a central hotel in a city, and if the gigs were like say Chicago, we stay in Chicago, and then we do Joliet one day, and then Merrillville, Indiana the next day. So we'd stay in that big hotel and do like 2 or maybe 3 gigs in the area. So me and him and the manager would ride together in the car, and we had some huge laughs. We came up with this one premise for a bit that the 3 of us did about last words of famous people, and George would always do the funniest one. Like we came up once with celebrities who have the bushiest pubic hair, and George came up with Rhea Perlman. Just I don't know how he came up with it, but then you're thinking, going, "Yeah, she probably does have very bushy pubic hair."
Yeah, yeah.
But I won one of those contests once. He said famous last words of famous people, and I came up with John Kennedy. "Why is my head whistling?" And they thought that was hilarious. So for once, I outshone George Carlin, ladies and gentlemen. So
All
yeah,
right.
those rental car rides were amazing. Yeah. And then once we used to go into if we had a city to go to, we'd take the same plane. This was before he started renting Lear jets, which was amazing, and they'd let me fly on them every once in a while. But we did the wrong thing, like we book a flight for like noon or something, And once there was a big snowstorm, and George was the only guy who could. The plane was sold out or something, and George made the plane. And they said, "I'll get on the next one." And I said, "Okay, I'll be right there. I'll get there as soon as I can." And got to the gig, go backstage, and I find out George had told the people, "I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna do the first half of my show. My opening act is gonna come during the intermission, which is usually intermission, and he'll do the middle part, and then I'll come back and finish up the evening." And I came out, and I thought they were gonna boo the shit out of me, because they just had George for like 35 minutes, and they like cheered, like they went great, and he must have like really built me up or something like that. Because there's no other explanation. Because I'm like this new guy, who's interrupting George Carlin. So that was I said thanks, George. That was amazing. Thanks for doing it. So yeah, that was just there's tons of stories. I mean, I could go on for hours. The day I missed the show because I thought it was the next day. I'm doing errands. I'm in Beverly Hills doing errands, and I call up the office and I go, yeah, I'm gonna be at the hotel. I got a thing I want to give to Jerry Hamza, who's his manager. And the woman goes, oh, okay, are you at the hotel? And I go, what hotel? The one at the gig. What gig? What gig? You mean tomorrow? No, it's today. It's nice. So I missed the fucking gig. And George did the whole show. And the next day they were merciless, I see George. So you decided to show up tonight, that kind of shit. So in that sense, we were kind of friends. We didn't hang out a lot, but when we did, we had a great time. Rhea Perlman, I'll never forget that. That's for damn sure.
That's really funny. Was George always? Did he always love it? Did he always love being
Yeah,
George Carlin the whole 18 years?
yeah. As opposed to someone like Rodney who just hated his life. I don't know what happened. He had a tough life growing up, so it's just in his genes. But George loved writing. I think he considered himself a writer first, more than a performer. So he just really loved what he did, and he had his HBO specials. What did he wind up doing? Like 16 of them or something every 2 or 3 years. So yeah, he always said, "Yeah, I love doing this." Until the very end, where he just got sick. The last year of his year or two, he just had heart disease and his arteries were calcifying, and he hardly had any energy. And it's weird because no one knew what was wrong at first, because he'd always been this kind of fun guy and loved doing it. And he turned into this guy who was like snapping at people. So, but till the very end, he really enjoyed it. You could just tell.
So all right, so you're still touring with Barry Manilow.
But he still works at odd jobs like here at the Westgate. That he has a residency, but he just used he uses I think he used opening acts just for the arena tours, and they did say this was going to be it for him. But I still go out there and do clubs, and I'm doing a lot less. I'm just taking it easier, trying to stay close to home and that kind
I was watching some of the clips on your website and on your YouTube,
of.
and all hilarious. But I did want to specifically, I know it's the on YouTube, it's like 17-year-old clip, but the vocal dyslexia.
Yeah.
I mean, the execution of that joke was incredible. Like it
Oh,
was
thanks. Well,
amazing to watch that.
that was just something we were trying to do. Bill Murray has like 6 brothers, and one of them was John Murray, and we were trying to put together some comedy. I just came up with that concept about public service announcement, and just did it so many times. It's in my, I can't get it off my head now. It's inscribed in my brain. So yeah, and that was at the Writers Guild Awards in 2005. I got to get the
Awesome.
new. I did do like a 30-minute special in Sarasota like 2 years ago. I got to get that on my website. Thanks for reminding me. I should actually put that on there. It's supposed to be 11, like the 2011 thing that they have on there right now. So I just gotten very lazy in the later years. What can I tell you?
And
But yeah,
then
we're good.
your book,
Yeah.
Touring with Legends.
hmm
How long did it take you to put that together?
10 years.
10 years?
The only reason I did it was because George's manager. Very short story. George's manager wanted to be my manager. I went okay. And one of the things he wanted to do for me was to get me a book deal. So I wrote the book hastily in about 6 months or something, the first draft. And why do I keep pulling these earphones out of me? And he went to one publisher, and they rejected it. And he said, "Yeah, well, they rejected your book." I said, "Okay, well, let's go on." And he says, and he never did. He never took anywhere else. So yeah, I had this friend who just said, "What do you mean you're not publishing it?" I said, "I can't find anybody who wants to. They don't know who I am because I'm gonna work." For years, this guy like called up publishers and nobody was interested, and they finally got a publisher that's got this Bear, not Bear Mountain, but whatever,
Oh yeah,
whatever.
Bear Manor.
Thank you very much, Bear Mountain. And they finally published the book. And meanwhile, I kept up writing for people I opened for and coming up with stories. So the last one, I think the last one is Norm Macdonald, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I could do another edition with Barry Manilow, but I probably won't, knowing me. But yeah, so that's how that came about. So
Awesome.
10 years starting from when the manager said, "Hey, you should write a book," and I did.
Well, at least you finally got it published, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, and a lot of people like it. So that's
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
awesome. Thanks for hanging out with me and sharing
Oh, sure. Thanks for this. I appreciate it. Thank you.
great stories. Such a
Thank,
career, amazing.
yeah, hey, it worked out. Thank you. Appreciate it.